How you doing? Happy Thursday. This is the
Yes.
New Royals podcast. We are here. We are excited. I am Sean.
I'm Paul. It's a good day.
And we are here. It is. It's a good day. It's a good day. Actually, just before we started rolling, we started talking about how hard the day was. And so our job is to sit here now and tell you it's a good day in spite of the hard day. But hey, I'm glad you took a few minutes to hang out with us and we get to just share some hope, share some encouragement together, and hopefully you'll find something that you can walk away with and go, hey, I'm better that I spent the last 45 minutes with these two.
Yeah.
So, hey, before though we get going, if it's on Facebook, hey, hit that like. Feel free to join I think I've said hey like 7 times now. Hey,
it's okay.
I'm like, I got my Uncle Si thing going on tonight. Hey, so hit that like button. If it's on the YouTube, go ahead and smash the like, hit the subscribe, and then make sure you get all the alerts. And so when we're dropping the feed, or we're dropping another podcast, or we're dropping a whatever, that you make sure that you get it. You'll get alerted, you'll get notified, and you'll get encouraged. So with all that to say, we're glad you're here. Paulie, how's life in Texas?
It's pretty good. We're finally getting the nice fall weather. It's still warm enough to swim, so I enjoyed that today. But then on the way home, I'm just walking home in this delightful, breezy 80 degrees, which is nice and cool. Cool.
It's crazy you guys call 80 degrees fall weather.
Yeah, it's fall.
That's fall weather.
Starting to get a little leaf turning. And I'm just enjoying it. This is my favorite time of the year, is the fall. From now until until this and the holidays. I'm a big holidays guy.
There you go.
But from now, so basically, it's my golden era every year from about right now until January 1st, and I'm very excited.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a little different for us. It's a little bit of a morning season here in the Northwest because the summer, August is our month. August is our jam. August is like our hottest time of the year. We go knee boarding.
Which for you is a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's not bad, but I mean, we go, because we had the crazy heat, but then, I've taken my daughter knee boarding, and so knee boarding in September, you're a radical. If you're still knee boarding, and we live on a lake, so we've gone knee boarding a couple times, excuse me, and it's just been this thing, like I feel like I'm clutching on to summer. Because technically, this is still summer. Fall has not begun yet. So
yeah, you're right.
I'm clutching on.
So I see 5 days.
And the fact is we're the only people out there. So the lake is just glass. And so, yeah, my daughter and I are.
Well, that's in Texas, too. I go to the pool, which is glorious right now. In fact, I like it better right now because it actually is a little cool. Like,
for sure.
During the summer, it's like bath water.
Right.
Here in Texas, and so I enjoy it more. But my kids and I are the only ones. I haven't seen anybody at the pool now for about 10 days. Yeah. So,
yes.
It's funny. They Texans are a funny breed, and I know I'm technically one of them now, but I know I'm not fully one yet because I still like
you're still
I
at
still
the
like
pool.
to swim. Yep.
Yes. That's crazy. That's so good. No, that's super good. I think that I've wanted to visit. Like I said, the only time I've ever been to Texas, it was an ice storm. So
yeah, that was weird.
That's when I was like, no, too close to home. We have those at home. No thanks, Pat. So, well, I'm actually, like I said, we were talking a little bit before about challenges and what it is to process challenges and whatnot. And again, I mean, not to sound like a broken record, but we're still navigating as a culture, a pandemic, an endemic, whatever they want to call it now. That is, it is. It's a wild ride, and it's a lot of. I think we are reaching a little bit of a breaking point, which can be hard, but also good in a way that I think I'm hoping that we're kind of coming to the end about believing the worst about people. What do I mean by that?
I mean, we're going to talk about that tonight. And
it still happens. It's still, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it feels like there is there is a media that wants to divide. There is a culture division that there's some people that actually just benefit from. They benefit from the division. It's what I call the marketing of division, and it's kind of sad. But I think in a way, people are starting to catch on. People are starting to catch on that, like, hold it. That person is not evil. You know,
Mhm.
they're not inherently evil. I've been told they're evil, and
Mhm.
they're not evil.
Yeah.
They're trying to navigate this journey their way. And so we're doing the same thing. We're trying to navigate this journey, and sometimes some of those days are difficult, which is one of my favorite things about doing the feed. Is it's kind of like, sometimes as I'm processing some of the things that I'm doing, as I'm making notes and future ones that I want to do, it really does reaffirm the fact that sometimes it's a conscious choice just
Mhm.
to stay positive.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it is
Mhm.
literally a conscious choice to say, you know what, right
Mhm.
now I'm going to, and one of the things I talked about this week is how we're commanded, I believe it was Romans, that we're commanded literally to 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 consider ourselves dead to sin, consider
Yeah.
ourselves dead and what I call sin is even the negativity, the lack of faith, the unbelief, all of those things, to consider ourselves dead to those. It was almost like we have permission to say, no, that is not me. I am dead to that. And that what I'm going to do is I'm going to live in life. I'm going to live in hope. I'm going to live in the belief that God is good and that he has good things for me. And sometimes that process is a conscious, intentional choice. It takes effort. And I think it's okay that it takes effort, but it's a conscious, intentional choice that takes effort. That's and some of us are armed with declarations, some of us are armed with scriptures that we have to consciously pull out and say, okay, this is what I believe right now, because this is what society or culture or the news or whatever is trying to tell me to believe, and I know those things not to be true, and I'm going to consciously make an effort to reinforce in my spirit and in my mind what it is I do believe. And I really feel like that is the same way with a lot of things that we're facing right now, is to make that conscious choice to go, hold it, that is not, this way, and so anyway, yeah,
No, it's so
that's
good.
kind of what I feel is happening right now.
Yeah, I love it, and, I think that really is, I think that's gonna be what we kind of expound on tonight, because I know that, what I've kind of some of the stuff I've been processing this week, and, even, something that I kinda went through last night that I'm gonna talk about in a minute here. It's just it all up ties into that, and I love what you said about, it kind of feels like we're at a tipping point of some things, and like you
Yeah.
said, I think we're starting to see people again, and I mean that as a
Yeah.
like, in a
Yeah.
corporate way. I think,
Yeah.
people are getting tired of being angry all the time and frustrated all the time, and don't get me wrong, I know it'd be very easy for somebody to immediately be watching this to be like, I don't know about that. I've seen, yes,
What are you talking about?
of course, there's
You just
examples
made
of
me
that.
angry listening to you talk. All right, right, right. Yes, yeah, for
Totally.
100%.
There's
Yeah,
always examples, but I can definitely see it toning down a little bit.
yeah,
And I think part of it is just maybe we can attribute it to a little bit of weariness. But
yeah.
sometimes in your weariness, you actually can think a little clearer. The emotions
Yes,
subside.
yes,
Your thoughts kind of clear up. And so to me, I see that as a very positive, encouraging sign. And even though I don't think we're out of the woods yet with all the craziness going on,
sure.
I really I feel like I'm starting to see a turning come,
Yeah,
and so I'm really excited about it. And I feel it in my spirit for whatever that's
mm,
worth to everybody
yeah,
out there. And I'm a gut check kind of person. I go with my gut a lot,
yeah,
and most of the time it's right, not always, but I feel pretty deeply like there's been it almost feels like in the last couple of weeks there's been kind of an acceleration of what's the word? Kind of almost like a stress trying to come in, and but I feel like even though it's been a couple hard days or whatnot, the peace keeps winning out,
yeah,
and to me that feels like all of it's going on, but I've found something that I think is holding on to what's going to carry through because it's right at the precipice is what I think. So
yeah, yeah,
I love that you brought that up.
yeah. No, I think it's really good. I think there probably is something. Sorry, a little ear itch there. I think there is something to the fact that sometimes it's a little bit of it. It's just reached its end. You're kind of
Yes.
exhausted with giving any more energy
Mhm.
to this negativity or to these thoughts. It almost you start to begin to realize, hold it, it actually takes effort for me to be conspiratorial about people I don't agree
Mhm.
with, you know. And it's a lot more peaceful
Yeah,
in your heart and a lot easier just on your whole physical well-being to just be
sure.
like, no, I'm going to choose to assume the best. No,
Yeah.
Lord, I need to see. And that's one of the beautiful things about, Paul saying, see, see no man by the flesh,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
is that includes the flesh, the the flesh and the spirit
Yeah.
connection, but also the flesh,
Or
meaning
even that we don't war against flesh and
right.
blood.
Well, it's just
You know,
and they're
it's
the
so easy to
carnal,
forget. Yeah.
exactly, and it just becomes one of those things that, but in the trenches, right?
Mhm.
It's a conscious choice in the
Well,
trenches.
especially, yeah. I think it takes incredible spiritual maturity
Yeah,
to go through something difficult and in the moment not see the instrument of the
yeah,
infliction,
yeah,
say a person partnering with something that's not great. It's hard not to see them as the actual enemy when the
right,
Bible is clear they're not. They're clear
right,
that it's what's going on behind them, influencing
right,
them, anything like that.
yeah,
But I mean, gosh, we all go through it. And I think even the most mature leaders still struggle with it sometimes. I mean, gosh, of all people, Bill Johnson, and this is one of the most like incredible testimonies I've ever heard from anybody. And knowing Bill, I know it's completely true. But just as he talked about how he processes that, and he actually like when he feels that anger rise up towards a person, he'll sit and like stare at their
yeah,
picture and
yeah,
pray over them until he starts to feel God's love for them.
for
And I'm
sure.
like, dude, that is something
Yeah,
I'm so far from. But but man, I so honor and respect and want to
to
have
do that,
that
yeah, for sure.
discipline someday, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the unity, you just make a conscious choice that I'm
Mhm.
going to see you for who you are. I'm going to
Yes,
see
of
you for who
course.
God's created you to be.
Mhm.
And you're grateful, right? Because you're
Yeah.
grateful that everybody else is paying you that same courtesy. That everyone
Mhm.
else is being like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, Sean, I'm not going to see you
Mhm.
for what you're doing right now or what what your flesh moment is, but I'm going to see you for who you
Yeah.
are and who Papa's created you to be. And and
Mhm.
and and again, like I said, I think that's really one of the most beautiful things I'm coming to the awareness of, that a lot of really successful people, they make that conscious choice. Bill is making that
Yeah.
conscious choice. He's
Yeah.
making a conscious. He has a he has a built-in spiritual muscle
Mhm.
response to
Yeah.
controversy and
Yes.
affliction. When someone is giving him the
Yeah.
business, or his knee-jerk reaction that he has built, and I'm sure it took time, and years, and
I would
probably
hope so.
wasn't always
Otherwise,
perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really gonna feel
Right.
bad about
Right.
myself.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is as any muscle
Totally.
memory, it takes time to
Mhm.
develop that. And we both
Yeah.
know Bill, and he is a disciplined man, but he's also
Mhm.
incredibly gracious. But it takes that
Mhm.
muscle memory. Well, we can do that exact same thing,
Yeah, we have
and
access to the fruit of self-control. I mean, in Galatians, it's clear. It's already there for us to access,
right,
you
no,
know?
100%. And so, but I think it's part of it is just building that discipline and building that habit to say,
Mhm,
you know what,
absolutely.
we're gonna do this. And so that was
Mhm.
one of the things I was going to share tonight was something really interesting. I meet with anywhere from 14 to 20 pastors weekly, and we took the summer off, and so we had already met once, and so this last week was our second time of meeting, and we were praying, and it was just really it was just good. It was just good to be back with everybody, and and a couple of them were just sharing a little bit about just what they had done. One of them had taken a sabbatical for a while, so it was just exciting to see him again. And as we were praying, uh, something was resonating in me that said, I really want this year to be a year of unity amongst the pastors. And I wouldn't say that there's been disunity amongst, but obviously different opinions and different approaches when it comes to COVID and the pandemic and churches and opening and closing and all that stuff. And we, for the most part, I would say very much for the most part, have been very supportive of each other, even though we have different opinions, right? So I wanted this year, I wanted to build on that. I wanted to build on the capacity and the ability that or I wanted to build on the fact that, we've been able to do so well with that, we could, what's the next step of unity and encouragement and love for each other look like? And so we were praying a little bit, and then all of a sudden I started praying over us and declaring over us. And I really felt like we were supposed to take communion. And I had saw them in a basket, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I talked to the guy whose building we meet at, and I was like, hey, can we use those? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so I explained to everybody a little bit about what I'd felt like the Lord was showing me. And the Lord had showed me that morning about in Ephesians it speaks of the body, and I was looking at a jacket, and the Lord he's like, yeah, the body sometimes is, Sean, let me explain it to you by a jacket. And he says, some people are sleeves and some people are pockets. And he's like, and you're a zipper. And I was like, really? He's like, you're the gateway to stuff that's like held, in secret. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And so I started sharing that a little bit with the team, and I think they got it. And I said, but let's do communion. And so it was really interesting because so we're sitting in this circle, and I pointed to one of the pastors who is a good friend of mine, and I really enjoy him. And we think a lot alike, and we talk, and we'll text and stuff, and probably he's more Pentecostal like I am. And so I said, hey, can you do the bread? You do the body. And then I pointed over to another friend of mine who I just love. I absolutely love him. He's an amazing guy. He's taught me a lot of interesting things about stuff I don't know. He's a Lutheran pastor and very liturgical, and just a beautiful person, And we see most things the same, but there's some things we just do not see the same, and some of them are pretty intense. And Christ is always at the center, but kind of the waves of how it works out in society and social and culture, and so we see some things differently. But still, I just love him. It literally is like one of my favorite people in the ministry that I know. And and I said, okay, you do the blood part. So the way that these two do communion could not be any more different. All right. It was just very much that way. So, I was explaining to them how, in our culture, in our church, communion is very much a celebration, so much point that people have actually been like offended by how we celebrate at communion. And I was like, have you read Corinthians? But anyway, so it was funny. Or read, never mind. So then the first guy goes, he starts doing the blood. And I mean, it's just, and it's so not pretentious, right? Because it's just us in the room. And so it's just so beautiful just listening to him talk. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can feel the presence of the Lord. And I'm just like, this is so amazing. And then we get to the body and we break the bread and eat it. And I'm just like, I'm wrecked. I'm already just wrecked. And then it gets to my friend who's a Lutheran pastor, and he starts doing kind of the liturgical part, but it's just so authentic. Like, it would probably, if I had sat in a service where it was liturgical, I'd probably go nuts a little bit, because sometimes I just struggle with that. But listening to him just do it, and just it was just rolling out of him. And I mean, I just start crying. Like, I can feel it. My eyes are getting all watery, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then he started praying. And I mean, the presence of the Lord was just in the room. Like, we could have just shut it down right there and not did anything else for the rest of the meeting. And I'm just encountering the presence of God, and I'm having so much confirmation running through my spirit of how keeping Jesus at the center and keeping him the main thing, and not seeing anyone in this room for the differences that we doctrinally carry around, but seeing instead the Jesus that is in them and that they release to their community, and that there is not one that is better. There is not a better version of Jesus. There might be funnier, happier versions, I guess. I don't know. But that our heart is for the Lord, and to see people come to know the goodness of God. And just to encounter it in that room, it just rocked me. It really did. It just spoke to me so deeply, and I was like, "What in the world is going on?" And then another gentleman who kind of has a ministry that kind of does that shared for a little bit, and I just thought, man, there is such a theme that if the church and I kind of want to go a certain direction, but we're going to talk about this, I think, next week or the week after about what do we do? What do we do though? I mean, we have to make difficult decisions, but I don't want to talk about that right now. What is it to just be in that unity, stay in that unity, love each other in that unity, and to be intentional about believing the best about each other. Just rocked me. So I maybe that was for somebody tonight. I hope it encouraged you, but that was what profoundly impacted me by the Holy Spirit this week for sure.
Man, that's awesome. When was that? What night was that?
That would have been Wednesday morning.
Okay,
Wednesday
so
morning. So yeah,
yesterday
yesterday morning.
morning?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Dude,
Hot
that's
tears.
wow. I
Hot
love
tears.
that.
The
So
warm kind. The warm kind. Like the
yeah,
kind that you're like,
they stream the stream.
yeah, and you kind of got to go, because it's only an hour and
Yeah.
change the meeting, but I was just like, I could just not do anything else right now. I could literally just sit in this chair and be with these guys and just be so happy.
Man, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I was raised Episcopalian. And so my dad was Episcopal priest and he was spirit filled.
Oh
He
wow.
easily could have gone charismatic or Pentecostal. He in fact, whenever we were on vacation, the local charismatic church is where we'd go. And he was just
Oh,
get like
okay.
filled up. He loved it, but he always said like he felt like he called to serve the Episcopal Church.
Wow.
And so I grew up in liturgy my whole life. I mean, until I was 17 and left the house, I like except for my dad would have a month long vacation every year. So that's 48 weeks a year. I was in liturgy.
Wow.
And my dad was so neat because he actually would have a prayer team during communion and stuff where they'd pray and they'd have healings and stuff go on in the chapel.
Wow. Come on.
It was really cool. But um, anyway, so I grew up learning to kind of love that
Right.
and not. I mean, I don't go to a church like that now. I mean,
Sure.
it's what I mean by loving it is I learned to
Right.
appreciate it. I can see the when it's passionately done, when it's done with somebody who really loves it and isn't just going through the motions, because it's easy to
Right.
do that. Trust me,
Right. Right.
there is beauty in it.
Yeah.
It can it definitely is hard for somebody who's used to the more spontaneous
Oh yeah.
church, which
For sure.
um but I remember thinking once upon a time like of the people who must have like first put it together, and I feel like there probably was some real like love in building it,
Yes. No, I
you
think
know.
I mean, one of the most, beautifully grace, filled people I know as a Greek Orthodox
Mm,
priest. And I think they still even do like the incense and stuff. I mean, they do like
mm.
the
We did
whole,
incense. Yep.
yeah, they do the whole shoot
Oh yeah.
match. And I was just like, so I think there are some people that would probably, I think I could have a appreciation for liturgical,
Hmm.
expression. I think I could. I just don't think I could. I think I'm just a little too, uh, I like to move around too much. I don't
And
think
if you
I could.
don't believe him, watch the feed.
Yeah,
It'll prove it.
I don't think I can stay in the box. I think I could come in the box, hang out with you for a little bit, and then I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Get me out of here! Let's do
No,
it!"
I
But
could do
can I
it.
take that incense with me though? Because it
I
looks
could
really
do it
cool.
once or twice a year now.
Right.
The one thing that would wreck me every year was
Yeah.
the Christmas Eve service.
Okay.
Just singing those hymns, the Christmas hymns, and there was a whole service set up around it. It started 9 o'clock, and as a kid, I'm like, man, Christmas tomorrow. But as I got older and older, it's just so beautiful because it was basically midnight mass, but we'd start at 9, and there was a celebration of hymns for the first 45 minutes,
Okay.
and then the service would start, and it started out so beautiful. The whole church would only be lit by candles, and everybody just holding a candle,
Oh
and
wow.
they would walk through, and then and it was just like the light come to the world, and like and I'm
Yeah,
getting
for sure.
goosebumps just talking about, dude.
Come
But I
on.
just when I got older, I would just be like just weeping just through it. It was just so emotional and beautiful.
Wow.
And maybe that's how my dad did it because he had that passion. He never was the pastor who got to the point of walking through the. I remember my dad one time he was talking to me about a friend of his who like would reuse sermons every couple of years, and so
Okay.
at some
Sure.
point he had like 80 sermons, and he would just recycle them. And my dad was just so disgusted by that. He was just like, "How could you ever do such a thing?" It was just really funny. Like
Probably
he
the
was all,
turnaround to the church was enough though that it probably like you've never heard this one before.
yeah, exactly.
I got a
So,
new one
anyways,
for you. That's
but
crazy.
it was really neat because my dad his he modeled unity really well in our community because he met with a group of pastors and they were from all different walks. There was like a Lutheran pastor, there was the charismatic, there was actually two charismatic pastors, a
Oh wow, yeah.
Pentecostal, a Cowboy Church pastor. There's like seven of them, and they
Cowboy
all
church pastor. Come
yes,
on.
and they all just met and they loved each other and they'd all pull from each other and talk about how they impact the community and stuff. And it was
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
neat. And my dad was always like, liturgy and doctrinal stuff was never like a stepping stone for him as long as he knew like he
Sure.
loved Jesus. And
Sure.
I remember asking him one day about that, being like, what about these guys, what they believe? And my dad just said, like, he said, he's like, I love our traditions. He's like, but he's like, if you ever have questions, it just comes to the Bible. He's like, you go to the
Yeah.
Bible and that's all that matters. He's like, never let a tradition get in the way of anything else. And
Wow.
so it was really neat. So you telling me that story today just totally reminded me of that.
That's
And I get to see it
awesome.
as like a gift that I was able to grow up in that.
I
Um,
find it.
yeah.
I find hanging out with these guys. It was interesting because the group grew pretty significant. Now
Mm,
because with COVID and whatnot,
yeah.
it'll be from anywhere from six maybe might meet, maybe 10 will meet.
Mhm.
At the height of COVID, we were all doing things on Zoom, so there was a lot more people involved. But
Okay.
there's kind of always been this this core, medium, small core, and
Sure.
I just it's an honor to be a part of them and I like one of the guys we we're different and I'll
Mhm.
tease him about it because he's pretty he's he knows what he knows, right? He's got this incredibly successful, wonderful
Uh,
church, and he's like, this is what he does, and this is how he does it. He likes the structure of things, and you know, I'll
yeah.
just I'll give him a hard time about the structure because I am so the absolute opposite. If you give me
Mhm.
a 5 song worship list, I'm not going to play all 5 songs. I might play one. You know, that I mean, that's what I was known for when I used to lead worship. I would be like, and I mean, they would just know. They would be like, "So, what songs are we not leading tonight?" Because I would come with my list and my keys, and we'd go through the rehearsal, and and they would basically just all start joking with each other, like, we're not doing any of these because they'd be like, "What part is this on the drums again?" He's like, we're not actually going to get to that song, right? It's Sean. Sean's
I
leading
love it.
worship tonight, which means
It's so funny.
we're going to start playing the progression of the first song, and then we're going to
Uh-huh.
disappear into cosmic glory space for the next hour and a half. So forget about it.
Yeah.
So I don't do boxes very well, but I love people who do. You know, you know, they're in and out,
Yeah.
baby. Here we go. This
Oh
is what it
no.
is. We
It
started
was clockwork.
10:01 and we are out at
Mhm.
11:59. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
wow, I just and it's fine. It all that's the
Yeah.
thing is I think that's one of the things not to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I actually really enjoy the differences, and it's probably because
Mhm.
I'm just such a huge fan of the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
a
yeah.
massive, massive, massive fan of the church. I
Yeah.
actually cringe a little bit and I need to stop doing it because it's a terrible
Yeah.
reaction. But I even heard it again today. People were talking about house churches and how
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
movement that's going to start and I'm
Oh my
like, you know
gosh.
what? Okay, it's
I mean, that's
great. No,
great.
it is. It's great. I'm all for
It's
it.
usually I just my
It's just
I
not my thing.
we're gonna stay in a good place,
Yeah,
but
it's not
I
my
just
thing.
and I usually see that happen, not always, but usually as a rebellion against organized church, which
Right.
is
No, no,
not
no. If
helpful.
it's no, if the genesis is you're frustrated with church,
Yeah,
that's I mean,
exactly.
but you know what? But you've got to have a place too, so good on you.
Yeah.
Go find 6 or
No,
7 of your
I
closest that are frustrated.
exactly. I mean,
But I mean,
we all get there somehow,
there
hopefully.
are there are some that I believe that are it's more of a community
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And and which is fine because I had to check
I get
myself as I was
that.
listening to it,
Absolutely.
as I was hearing it. I had to check myself a little bit and
Mhm.
go like, okay,
Yeah.
watch your twinge. You know, you're having a Tourette's moment or whatever. Just you, it's going to express itself in a bunch of different ways. But at
Sure.
my
Yeah.
core, I am just a huge fan of
Oh,
of
yeah.
the church, and maybe it's like I love all the noise, and
Yeah.
and I love the people and the community and the hope and the connection. And so
Mhm.
yeah, so I think it is. I think
Yeah.
to kind of stable us out a little bit. I think it really is. It is a season that we
Mhm.
have to be intentional about functioning differently. And I think I like I was saying, and next week and maybe the week after we can talk a little bit more about it too, because that unity does not mean you're a doormat,
Doesn't mean
right?
uniformity.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
See what I did there? You like that?
Speak on that. That's no, okay, no, that's good. Okay, no, see.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I
touch
mean,
on
I
that
just
really
give a
quick.
second
Okay, we're
from
not
it's
we're not
just
going to go there, but you give me the
yeah.
30,000
I
foot
mean,
about
the
that.
30-second thing is just unity means we can all have it. Okay, so the unity is in Jesus. We start with Jesus. I forget the exact verse right now, but when Paul's writing about the laying on of hands, he basically lays
Right.
out the milk.
Right.
In my personal opinion, the milk is the non-negotiables. I
Sure.
don't think there's any negotiable in milk. It's the meat, the deeper things that's where we can have differences and yet we still walk together because guess what? You have a part, I have a part,
Right. Right.
that guy has a part, that
Right.
woman has a part. We all have a part. We all see in part. And so unity is loving each other and walking together in the same direction even despite the disagreements. And that's the quick
Right.
$30,000,
No, that's good. That's
1,000 foot
so
view,
good. Well, I
you
think that's
know.
the thing because we have to. We're moving into. I think that is why what we're talking about tonight
Yeah.
is so important, and getting this
Yeah.
understanding and having appreciated, because without that,
Hmm.
it makes some of the extracurriculars that are going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, I think more in the spirit,
Yeah.
because I do think we are heading into a season of some pretty strong, confident,
Hmm.
confident agree to disagrees,
Yeah, and I think
right?
we have to. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to work some stuff out. I totally agree with you. I wasn't completely. I love that we're going in this direction. It kind of surprises me. I was gonna say like I think what God's doing, and some people might take this the wrong way, but don't. So because I'm gonna hash it out. But He's purifying His church right now,
Hmm.
and a lot of people I think see that as like a judgment thing. In a way, it is, but not in the way people would say that. I don't
Not
think
in the
God's.
Kirk Cameron kind of way.
Yeah, God bless Kirk. At least not his movies. But
I'm just saying, when people talk
the
judgment,
guy
I'm like,
just,
what kind of
oh
judgment
no,
are you talking about right
yeah,
now? Are
no,
you talking like Jeremiah or Kirk Cameron?
yeah. So when
Which is
God
it?
judges his people, it's always for promotion. Just so you know, on
Right.
this side of the cross, there, that I'll leave that there. But I believe what God's doing
Free
is
people just shut off just now when you said that. They just laughed. They're like,
my personal view of history is that the church is like a child in a way if you took the whole corporate bride, and what we're doing is we're entering into another level of maturity through
yeah.
all this. The
Wow.
world is it like any coincidence, and I don't believe in coincidences, but it could it be that the entire world is going through this right now. It's not just an
Hmm.
American thing, it's not an
Right. Right.
Australian thing.
Right.
We're
Right.
all going through it together.
Yeah.
You could say that since maybe World War II, the world has not been this unified in an event. And so we're all going through it together, and the church is navigating this all together. And I mean, to be honest, like we've lost some people that might have best been churchgoers. There's plenty of churches that shut down.
Right.
There's people coming into the church by I believe the
Right.
thousands and
Right.
even more right now. And so what I think God's doing though is he's bringing us together in this unity thing. So great that you're talking about it, because those of us who are persevering through this, who are going to come out with a whole new lens, and God's maturing us
Yeah.
through it, it's going to make the church so much more beautiful going forward.
For sure.
And I think of this vision. One of the things, so much of the modern church ran so hard from the traditional church that we lost some of the good stuff.
Wow.
Like I love cathedrals, and I think it's a glory to God to build a beautiful building for Him.
Right.
That's why they did it. That's why they built
Right.
Notre Dame and stuff.
Right.
It's because it took 500 years to build it, and the whole time they were saying this is worship unto the Lord, to build this
Yeah.
to Him. And
Right.
now it's like we just create warehouses, and nothing wrong with
Right.
that. I mean, build a glory barn, right? That's awesome.
Hey, they
But
have tactical lighting and really good smoke.
yeah. But it's like you could have that in a
What is the
beautiful
smoke
building.
about anyway? What is it?
I don't know.
I've
That's
always
funny.
wanted to
The
ask.
dry ice.
I was at a no, it's not. I was doing worship at a church and I was actually hosting a
Were they
conference.
just puffing it in?
And before I go up and I'm like, I'm just doing announcements. We don't need smoke for the announcements.
Mm,
I'm super good. But the worship
yeah.
team is going and I'm like, but I literally wanted, I was like, who do I ask? Like what? And but I mean it's a nice
Mm.
strawberry smell. But if I was singing, if I was actually
Drive
like
you nuts, right?
leading that night, I would
Yeah.
be like, no, I would actually tell him not to do it. I just
Yeah, because
can't.
it'll
I
drive
can't.
your voice, right?
Yeah, it just dries
Yeah.
up my voice. And like I
Mm.
got up afterwards and sometimes I'll like break in and do some singing. So I'm like, what is the
Uh,
smoke all about? But no, you're 100% right. It is. I mean, I think people do those things. I mean, we're teasing because I think some people
we're
do it with a lot of
teasing.
really great intentions.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're 100% right. I mean, that was it was architectural worship.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's how do we glorify God through creating something
Yeah.
beautiful here? And yeah, I totally agree with that.
Well, and it goes back to, and I know, like, there's, I'm always gonna, I know the devil's advocate talk on this, but I'm not talking about that side. I'm talking about the pure idealistic side of that. There was a time when the church led culture, and I know it got
Right,
corrupted and it got perverted.
right,
We don't need to talk about all that,
right.
but it was a beginning, and they messed it up. But I think that's actually the meaning for the church, and I think in order to lead, we have to be excellent,
Hmm.
and that goes to everything. It goes to our architecture, it goes to our worship, it goes to, right now I'd say that, like, the one thing you can, that is pretty consistently excellent right now, is worship. But
Yeah,
it was not that way when I was growing up, trust
yeah,
me.
yeah,
But in the last 10 years, 12, 15 years, there's been a shift,
for
and
sure.
I just think it's the beginning of something. But my belief is, as this church, as we come out of this and unity is stronger and all these other things, and I'm not saying there's not going to be issues. We still got to work stuff out,
Yeah,
but I really think there's going to be a step forward in a maturity, and also through that an influence. And I say that as a very hopeful, expectant person,
yeah.
and I'm excited about it.
I think it's. I mean, it's really exciting to see how in the last 15 20 years we we're starting to see. You always knew, you could always tell when it was a Christian movie, right?
Oh yeah,
You just
most of
knew.
the time you still can. We're still
You're like, yeah, I mean, it's still, but it's getting better,
we
right?
haven't
I
completely
mean,
turned that corner yet. As a
no,
film critic, as a former
but
film critic, but
no,
you're
I
right. It's
understand. But
getting better.
hey, but I mean, this is what I can say though. Dallas
They're
Jenkins, if you're
watchable now.
watching,
Yeah.
way to go, because the
Oh, The
chosen,
Chosen.
the
It
chosen
is
is
awesome. It
it's
is
it's
phenomenal.
it's epic.
Yeah.
It really is. The chosen
So
is one of
good.
those ones that
Yeah.
I would gladly recommend to one of my most ardent atheist friends, just
Totally.
because, if nothing
100%.
else, the entertainment value of just how
Yeah.
well the characters are done and the storyline is
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Probably, arguably, and this might be a big statement, probably the best theatrical depiction of Jesus ever,
Oh yeah. I agree. I
ever.
agree. Especially because it's so what's the word, comprehensive as far as
Mm-hmm.
like a Jesus thing goes, because we get Jesus in 2 to 4 hours.
Right.
And there's been good ones. I love the Gospel of Matthew Jesus,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Jim Caviezel and Passion of the Christ. But I totally agree with you. I think this is the best Jesus, and
Oh, hands
that's
down.
awesome. He's
And
so
he's
good.
so. I mean, the sense of humor.
Yes.
I mean, the one-liners. you know?
Yeah.
And they're not
Yeah.
insensitive one-liners,
No.
where it's
They're
just like
not mean-spirited.
it's not mean-spirited and it's not
No.
corny,
It's
where it's
love.
like, "Oh, okay,
Yes.
what is it?"
So good.
It's like,
Totally.
no, it's really well written, well thought
Yeah.
out.
So good.
Even, the one the one this is no spoilers here, so don't worry. But when they go to when they're in Samaria and they're staying the night at that guy's house,
I don't
and
remember this.
oh yeah, it's at beginning of episode two, it's beginning of season two,
Okay.
or end of season one. I think it's beginning of season two. They're in Samaria. They're staying at the guy's house, and the guy says, "Well, I've only got 3 rooms, and one of them's haunted by the spirit of my dead grandmother." And Jesus is like, "Ooh, I'll sleep in that one."
That's
I mean, it's
so
just
good.
hysterical. It was
That's so
just,
good.
they're like, and Peter's just like, "What?" And Jesus is like, "Ooh, I'll sleep in that one." And it's just so,
I love it.
it's super great. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I guess to kind of start to land this plane a little bit. I mean, I
Well, yeah,
think
and I
I
wanna
don't know,
go
I
through
don't
I
know.
did have one thing I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah, no,
talk
go ahead,
about.
fire. I wanted to
Yeah.
bring us back on track because somehow we got
No,
into movies.
you're
Hang
good.
with us, America. This is how we
No,
do
it's
this.
still the track. We're talking about excellence in
No,
church
it's
and
not the
culture. I
track.
love
No,
it. Oh, it's okay.
it's way off the track, but it's okay.
It's
No,
okay.
no,
The
this
people
train
love us.
it derailed as soon as we started talking about church guitar smoke, and that's okay because that's what you get. So okay, all right, so bring us back.
No, yeah. So I just wanted to share, and actually, what I'm going to share goes completely in line with everything we're talking about, including what you talked about. So I'm going to tie it all together. And this is going to be relatively short. So what's funny is, yesterday you said you met. One of the reasons I asked you when it was is because yesterday I had a really neat like time with the Lord too, and it just so happened that yesterday was Yom Kippur, which I
Right,
am not a Jewish calendar guy. I'm
right.
not. I'm not like, I don't follow it at all. But I just so happened to listen to a Doug Addison podcast that popped up yesterday. And for some reason, I was rocking my baby girl to sleep, and I was like, I got to listen to something. So it popped up. I was like, I'll listen to Doug. And he just started talking about Yom Kippur. And so what he talked about in that was just his significance, and he's saying you don't need to follow it, and I'm not advocating following the Jewish calendar in a way that you need to celebrate the festivals, anything like that. But in a prophetic sense, sometimes it's good to just tune in. It's just good to know kind of what's going on around, because sometimes God does target specific days for whatever reason. He's God, he does it. And so sometimes you just can have an encounter on a special day. And so for me, I was listening to this, and Doug's talking about how this year he really felt like God on Yom Kippur was releasing strategies and assignments for the next year. And for some reason, that just rang really true to me. So after I got my girl down, I just made it a point to get alone. And my wife was out of the house. So actually, I had a quiet house to myself. All the kids were down. And so I just got alone with my Bible, a book, and my journal. And I just started praying, and I went through some declarations. I went through some very specific crafted prayers. And then I just said, God, I'm here. If you have something for me, I want to listen. I want to hear you. And oh, and there was one other thing Doug said before I go into what I was hearing from the Lord. He said that it was a good time to repent for maybe like stepping away from our call. And to me, that might not ring true to you right now. Maybe you've been all in it, but to me, that rang true because during this last year and a half, 2 years, with all the craziness, I've had a lot of seasons where I was in and out of like a survival mode. And this year, especially the first 7 months of the year, I just went in and out of depression, and I was dealing with a lot of stuff internally. And I just basically was going through this very long term spiritual, emotional, mental healing that had built up over years and years of pain and disappointment and all this stuff. And I've been to Bethel. I grew up a Christian. I'm a pretty strong guy. I have good, like strong beliefs and a close connection to the Lord. And so I have this like perseverance thing where I usually can go pretty far without like wearing down. And what I hadn't noticed is that just with everything that happened the last year and a half, and then losing my job in January, it all just kind of cascaded on me, and I just kind of lost it, and I just could not access my heart, my passion at all for the first 7 months of the year. Now I've been coming out of that the last couple months, and in fact, right now I feel the freshest, the most energetic, the most passionate I've felt in literally years. At least 5 or 6 years, and it's one of those things where you don't notice it's gone until you get it back, and that's kind of how I feel now. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the energy I haven't had in so long. And anyways, having said that, though, I realized that I still, even though I'm much better in doing all this stuff, I still hadn't like firmly committed myself to a path forward again. And I felt the need to do that, so I did that as well. And I felt just this opening to that, just this. It was like an influx of energy and an influx of focus and clarity. It was just wonderful. So I'm sitting at my journal, and some of the stuff I write down is personal. It's personal stuff for me, and some of it I don't feel led to share yet. But one thing the Lord said, and this is a hopeful, expectant. I'm very excited about this. What He told me, I felt very strongly. He said, "This is the year where it all turns around." And I specifically felt like He meant from this day, Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, Jewish Day of Atonement, all the way to next year in September. So basically, it starts today or yesterday. And I felt him say that, and I felt when he said that, I did not feel it was just for me, even though some of it was. And I wrote down some stuff, but I really felt that he meant in a corporate way. And some of the stuff I feel like he was saying to me that I wrote down is that he's doing a sovereign move right now. And it's the kind of move that we can't mess up. I don't believe we can mess it up. I really don't. I believe God's doing something major in the world right now. And we're at the precipice of it. And I actually, just in case, I want to say that I do believe that the intensity is going to tighten for a while first, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. I do believe there's going to be a tightening in intensity, but once it breaks, there's gonna be some amazing things that come out of it, and I think next year we're all gonna be like, wow, it was all worth it. So that's what I'm feeling right now. And then what I want to say on top of that is that I want to encourage you all that what the Lord said that to me, and I kind of repented of falling away from my call and like rededicating myself to like what I feel God's put in my heart to do, what He's called me to do, is that also one of the things the Lord was telling me is that you can't mess up what I'm doing right now, the breakthrough for even the whole world. But what you can do is you get to choose how long you steward it. And so what I just want to say is that we all have a part to play. We all have something exciting God's got planned for us. And he's inviting us right now to focus, to be a big part of it. And I think the unity aspect is major in this. If we all pull together, I think it's something that's going to be stewarded and grown for a very long time to come. And that's
That's
just something I'm
awesome.
extremely
Yeah.
excited about.
No, that's
So,
super good. That that's encouraging. That's something to chew on right there. That's good stuff. So, well, I just think that that is probably a great place for us to just say, yeah, Sela.
it's like the George Costanza. You just, you say the joke and then you leave
It is.
when everybody's laughing. Leave at the high point.
Look at this. Hey, oh, we've switched the other way. So now it actually looks like, look at
Oh
that. It looks
yeah,
like I've got the new Royals, like I've got a new Royals jacket on, which,
I think
hey,
we've
by
gone
the
back and
way,
forth a
just so you
couple
guys
times
know,
actually.
the new Royals swag
Mm,
um, is
tell us.
available. It's actually completed. There's, oh gosh,
Nice.
just because not that, we're jaded and want our stuff on things, but I was just like, hey, new Royals t-shirts, sweatshirts, water bottles. There's even a fanny pack if you wanted to buy the fanny
That's
pack.
awesome.
Yeah, because that Teespring will let you basically put your logo on anything. So phone cases, whole nine yards. If you want to rep the new Royals
You
logo,
like the logo, if you like,
that will be that will be out and available to you soon. We are finishing the website, New
mm,
Royals Awakening. It will be
yep.
out soon, and as soon as it is done,
Yeah.
we will get that out to you. But
I would
yeah,
say real quick on that, just by the end of October, I really think people you're going to see a lot more fun stuff going on.
you'll see a
Um,
lot more. So
I
hopefully
want
we'll get a link to you for if you want to get swag.
to
We'll
stay on
try.
the for now. Stay tuned into YouTube, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell because we will always be doing the podcast, be doing the feed, other videos, and you'll get announcements. Also, check out the Facebook page. It's the best place to stay up to date with day to day things going on. And then, especially the group. Join the group. We're a community. It's building right now. We just started.
For
I think there's
sure.
about 35 people in there already, which is awesome
Yeah.
because we just started last week, really. But you're totally invited. It's open to everybody right now, and just it's a great place to just post whatever's going on in your life. Let us be there to encourage you
Yeah.
and pull together as a community.
You can be a part of our founders club.
Yeah, Founders Club. Pay out pay.
It doesn't come with a free coffee mug or anything like that. So hey, like he said, like, subscribe, smash that share, hang out, and we will see you next week.
Excited to see you guys. Have a great weekend.